Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another castover. And you know it's a good day when I'm about to finish off my coffee and we haven't even started casting over. The last dregs are always the worst, to be honest. Anyway, we have the Shambler against Btyb88, and these two are testing a map called Paradiso, which is supposed to be a remake of Dante's Peak. So we can take a look at this. Unfortunately, the maps from the default ladder, if you're using them as the base, which is what was done here, instead of being one of those cases where you like take the map, look at it, have it in your other monitor or whatever, and then start like redrawing it, you know, remaking it from scratch, which is what you would have to do. If you don't do something like that, you are going to get some silly situations. And we can see all of the busted tiles all over the place. Obviously, all this stuff over here. I mean, what? And then, you know, if you ever bother, some of these are because like the CMBW tile set is different, right? But then you ever look around here and you're like, what's going on? There's even in this particular version of the map, I don't even know if you can actually go up this ramp. I think maybe just barely, but like this, like with a scribe, maybe you could. I don't know. It's pretty messed up. So, yeah. Suffice it to say, it's a work in progress, and really what we hope to do is just have enough of a lesson from looking at the structure of these maps to inform our future map-making endeavors and to make some improvements. Now, it will be a cenotaph opener for the Shambler. When you go cenotaph as your first structure, you only need 100 minerals, but you do need 50 gas. That's quite important. And we have a Quasrock with a Kagrant in the background. It looks to me like Btyb88 just did a straight-up cross-scout, which is, well, he's obviously map hacking. It's just, that's obviously what you think. Now, there will be Legionnaire out first, which is a fairly simple opener. And since he's not going to be bothering with the Ridge, he's actually looking to Legionnaire Flood, it looks like. Now, this worker ended up burrowing, which is a curious strategy. But, you know, you can kind of... Then you're not going to get hunted, or reduces the likelihood that you get hunted down by this man with his pokey stick. Double Quasi out. They don't actually kill the Scribe, which is a bit... Like, maybe the Shambler might be a little bit confused by that. Oh, no, one of them does come back and kill the Scribe. Okay. Well, you should take a long look at this Scribe sprite, because... also, with that, the lack of kiting means, like, lack of actual... yeah, okay. Obviously, that's a bit silly. Now, there's a Warden in the back, so this is not going to do too much. But, you take a look at the Scribe sprite, guys. You know, take a long look. It's already been replaced on pre-release, so if you want to use the remodel that was done by Solstice, he actually streamed the process of it. You can check that out. I'll make sure to link that in the description box. I like this Quasilisk Burrowed. I like the fact that the selection circle has been busted since this unit was implemented, and I just don't understand why. So he actually, you know what? Hats off to you, Shambler. You should not have kept that Scribe alive, but for whatever reason, Btyb88 let you bring it back. So a little bit of an eco boost, so to speak. Also, take a look at the timer, because on pre-release now with March Madness, we even re-enabled Game Receive, which you guys may remember from an episode of Prototype, and I think it was Prototype, where we talked about maybe the first episode of Prototype. I was talking about how Game Receive was the cause of some consternation and cause of desyncs, and we seem to have fixed that problem. So, I don't know what stopped the unit from unburrowing there. Obviously, we would like units to not unburrow when they take damage, but usually they do, so that sounds like maybe it couldn't unburrow because units were directly on top of it or something. I don't know. It's lard. Obviously, spider mines seem to have that problem too, where if you stand on the mine, it can't unburrow. That's actually kind of a neat trick for spider mines specifically. I don't know. But yeah, I think Btyb88 might be in some trouble here. He does have a pair of Nathracors flying around, but obviously there is a Warden over here and a Hierophant standing guard. And so here come the Naths. Obviously, they're continuing to fly away. At this point, this is like, oh no, they're coming back. Okay. So the attack is commencing. Nothing actually wounded yet. A little bit of damage done to this Legionnaire. And the kiting needs to be done here. Oh, he's actually going to lose that one, I think. 3 HP. Okay, no ranged threats, but more Nathracors coming out. And the Hierophant simply cannot deal with this for like this number of Nathracors, right? With more of them coming out. Has to be like a very huge APM sink. Again, only 2 Naths. He's got some units burrowed around and stuff. He can like confirm scouting, but there's double Hierophant here and the Warden as well. So he's actually pulling his units back, but he doesn't need to, right? Like that was just 2 Hierophants. That was it. So it's a bit interesting. Also, I just remembered that the pylon, you know, we talked about the pylon in the last cast over how I want to make it more interesting, but the pylon doesn't leave a corpse. That's a holdover from default Starcraft. The shield battery also didn't used to leave a corpse. Nice tiles, by the way. Our second game is also on this map, so get used to the tiles. Maybe we'll see some of the other aspects of it. I think the biggest, most notable aspect of it, I mean, the biggest quite literally, is the fact that it's a very large distance between the mains, right? I think, like I was saying earlier in one of the other castovers, that Repulsion might equal this, but it's a 1v1 map, so you know exactly where your opponent is. That uncertainty of like where your opponent is in a 4-player map actually adds quite a bit to the scouting. And no need for scouting, because we do have an engagement here. Now, all the Nathrakors are dead, but too are the Legionnaires. Ooh, he could have actually gotten stuck there. Maybe focusing down the Warden would be the most useful thing here. The Nathrakors are going to dive onto it. Quasi, continuing to try to like zone the Hierophants is really funny to see, because it's definitely not something that really you could imagine would happen. Diving on the Pylon, I mean, whatever, you're just trying to get some damage. I do feel like the Zethrakors, considering all the space that they earned from those Quasis, also that one didn't unburrow to join the fight, very minor detail. Considering all the space that they had, I feel like the Zethrakors could have dove in down here and picked off this Warden, because obviously they're very good at dealing with, you know, static defense or buildings in general. Now, it's still going to be Quasrock only so far. There is going to be a Circuit in the back. I actually don't mind this positioning, but it's mostly because if it keeps to Legionnaire army, you're actually like saving it from any ranged attackers. Like, ironically, like it'll just keep poking down the Legionnaires while you're hopefully zoning out the Hierophants or whatever. But yeah, at this stage, it looks like it's just going to continue as normal. I mean, this Scribe is idle. There's a lot of Zethrakors coming. Actually, if the Zethrakors get on top of these Hierophants, there's no Vorvs with this, so they can't really slow them down. But this is going to be quite the action-packed adventure here. One of them already brought down low. Now, you can really see the strength of Hierophants if Shambler decides to micro them. He's actually kind of backing himself into a bit of a corner here, but he does smartly path upwards. So I think he's okay. He might lose a single one, but this is no longer going to be effective. And, you know, maybe that's it. Some of his units obviously getting stuck behind there. Picking off the Warden, maybe? No? Okay, they're just going to dance around. Just 2 more hits and that Hierophant will go down, but obviously that was a pretty big trade. The best thing that attack offered was time for Btyb to do other things. Unfortunately, he hasn't really done anything with that time, right? He's queuing up. I don't know if he queued up any workers. It doesn't look like it, right? His worker count's fairly low. He will be going for a Hydrock Den now. He definitely recognizes the need for something to deal with the Hierophants in a more direct fashion. A Matrix was forced during this time, and the fact, again, look at this. The Matrix Warden, and now he's finally getting an Automaton Register, or double of them. So he's going for idols. This means that a Hydrock switch would really, really help. I mean, Golems can still help you, dealing with Iziracors and dealing with Hydras and the like, but, you know, obviously the idols are mostly good at the splash. They're still serviceable against Hydras, but, you know, you get the idea. One of the main things that I like to see is, you know, when you're on a map that's this expansive, you get to, you know, expand and stuff, and Btyb didn't really do that, right? He hasn't really buffed his economy at all, it feels like. No real workers coming out of the rotations. Now, there are enough Quasis to zone this out, so... yeah, 4 of them died. 1 Legionnaire died. Maybe he would like to pick off this low HP Hierophant, just so that he can, like, you know, equate the trade a little bit more. But even still, it's a very impressive army of Quasis, and, you know, you can talk shit about Tickles, but it's not necessary, bro. So it's actually going to be 4 Iziracors. Remember, that is 600 minerals, so that was a very hefty investment. Now, there's finally going to be some more workers rotating out, it looks like. Yeah, he's realized that he's actually not really saturated his main, nor his nat, especially his nat. And now that he's starting to put more defensive structures up, it looks like, with this Kagrant colony, you definitely need some more activity there, right? Iziracors, I think, since their range increase, have actually, basically, it feels like they just weren't working correctly at all in the earlier stages of the game's development. And that's why they were so underwhelming. And now that they are working correctly, thanks to the range, nice tiles, the, obviously, clearly... probably need some adjustments, right? So I'm not sure if I maybe drop their armor. I was talking about this on the server earlier today. But I could drop their armor by 1, or I could drop their HP to like 120 instead of 140. I think that's probably a safe bet. If they're going to remain at 150 minerals, right? And I think it's probably good for them to remain at that price, because the Zoryusilith is 200 minerals. So I would like there to be this dichotomy between, like, do I want the really turbo tank, or like the sort of bruiser, which is what the Iziracor is supposed to be, where it's like, it's good frontline, and also, you know, reasonable damage output. And, you know, the combat roll is also a little bit different. So double Warden's getting focused down over here. I think both of them should fall. I think the units were attacking an egg. I don't know what was going on there. Blank, by the way. Don't mouse over that. You might crash. It didn't crash me, thankfully. Holy shit. That was a dangerous game I was playing. Crucible going down here to buff the defenses, but of course there's only 1. And actually both players staying on 2 bases. This base fully saturated now on minerals. very limited gas mileage, and obviously not a huge amount of workers being tasked here. It definitely needs a bigger army, and this is a Spraith for some reason. I think he was maybe fearing a tech switch, but obviously that is not what's happening. More automaton registers being added and getting ready to take a third base, so the Shambler will be ahead in economy. Finally saturating this gas, still not interested in the ridge. Capping this one, though, okay. And we got some Hydras coming out as well. This is a pretty big army, though. I think this is just going to wipe BTB. I don't really know what he did wrong in this game. Like, obviously he's floating some money, but this is a huge amount of Protoss, and he just doesn't have the comp to fight it. Now, Mass Hierophant is not normally this successful. It's just, it feels like BTB has like half the army or half the units that he should. I think probably because he took that big Zetracor attack, which obviously was quite successful in giving him tempo and map pressure. But he didn't actually expand behind it. I think if he took at least one base, maybe two, maybe like one of them in the obvious third and then another one somewhere else, that's like what Zerg players tend to do in those situations where they actually have some map tempo. And so I think that would probably have helped him out quite a bit. Even if one of them gets sniped or both of them get sniped, you know, your enemy is busy dealing with those bases instead of your natural. That changes the calculus of where the fights go, and obviously, I mean, it sometimes can be more difficult to defend against those, but that's why you obviously want to have a little bit of map presence, figure out like where the enemies are coming from. So anyway, we'll get a little bit more mileage out of this map because we're going to game number 2 to see if the Shambler will take this 2-0. It's not really a series, but you know, whatever. I mean, technically it's a series of games. It's just only 2. It's not a best of 3 or whatever. So anyway, yeah, let's see what happens. Hi. We're back with game number 2. BTB as Terran in the top left position. N? What the fuck? Hey, you can't end me. What was that? Dude, they end me. I didn't even notice that the first time. Okay. I think maybe, like, whenever I start the recording at the very beginning, I hear, like, this weird sound. And I thought maybe something got fucked up because of March Madness. And then I was like, well, no, this patch is before March Madness. So how could that be the case? And now I think it's like a sound effect that is actually like part of the map or something, and maybe got corrupted when it was transferred over. I don't know. I have no idea. But sometimes that happens. Like if you guys ever watch ASL or whatever, when you load into a map, it plays like a sound effect. Usually it's like maybe like an edited version of the Protoss rescue sound. You just hear dun dun or whatever. It's supposed to be like epic. And maybe it is. I don't know. It's like sometimes it's pretty neat. But yeah, as they talk about the minerals, figuring out what's going on there. Obviously distracting BTB. This is mental warfare from the Shambler. Now he's in doubt. Like, did I actually mirror the resources all the time? Like, am I a fraud? I'm supposed to be on not fraud. Look, I'm not frauds. See? Yeah, so, you know, you get the idea. It's funny that this is listed as 2v2 team. Obviously, I guess that's probably why they are in the same spawns. It's fixed spawn. You wouldn't really want to do that, I don't think, just because... how would I describe this? So, when you have maps that are this big between the spawns, like, basically 2 players can just gang up on 1 player. So, in a 2v2, you know, the idea is that it becomes really hard to defend, I think. Maybe if it was super easily defensible. Like, I guess you could 1 base if you were the target, but then everybody would tend towards 1 base play. I don't know. It seems like maybe that's just something we haven't solved yet. So this patch is also before Cyprians were reduced in cost for minerals, so they're 75-25 now, but on this patch they are 100 minerals still. And Harakans did not get their armor buff, nor did they get their speed buff. So those changes to bio are not yet in this version when this game was played. I think the next time I do a cast over, it will be of a series where that is not true, where it is actually on the Fraudarchy patch that was, well, yeah, the most recent Fraudarchy patch as of the time of recording. So that would have been the 18th of March, I believe. Yeah, this was played a day before. And we do actually have a Cyclops coming out, so that's kind of interesting. Cyclops they surprised me with how much damage output they were actually doing when I was playing some games versus AI. They were actually surprisingly quite effective. So I'm interested in seeing where that goes. Now, it will be a Fast Eye Zero Core play from the Shambler. He's not actually going to posture too aggressively. Also, I didn't really comment on these eggs. I think they're quite superfluous. I don't think they're really necessary anymore. Now, double Skithracore is like the main point of contention here, but I think if there's like 3 Cyclops, or even 2 Cyclops, you probably just execute these things as soon as they show up. Now, BTB is moving over into this direction. Did he scout that? Oh, yeah. Yeah, of course. I was wondering, like, how does he know? What the fuck? But the 2 Skithracours must have flown over, or maybe one of them flew over through the vision range of this Mason that was just sitting here doing nothing. So that's quite useful, quite interesting. I guess that means that it won't be quite as successful as the Shambler had hoped. So he's actually already losing. He's almost fully lost one Skither Core. He might get a Mason, but I don't think so. Yeah, there you go. There's the first Skither Core down, and it flies directly into the line of sight of the other units anyway. So even if that last Watchdog shot had not connected, it would not have been successful. So that's 200 minerals and 50 gas down the drain. Quite a delayed expansion now. And a fairly reasonable army of Mavericks and Cyclops who are spinning around the base. This isn't, you know, super hard hitting, but if the Shambler is trying to Droleth up, which he is, Droll up, I guess is what we were saying now, he only has 3 Izira cores to defend this push, so this could do some pretty good damage, maybe cancel the Expo or something to that effect. And yeah, I think with the secondary Watchdog as well, this is insurance. I was talking with this with Veek about this, and funnily enough, look at this, a bunker on the front line. The second Watchdog in this case is just insurance. I'm attacking, I have map presence, I have some value, purely because what I am doing is moving forward onto the map, right? And as a result of that, it gives me a lot of value just because I know that like my opponent can't really counterattack, right? So if they come in with air units, this Watchdog just helps me secure that, right? So, you know, as Protoss, I was doing a bunch of things like, you know, just putting a single Warden in my base or something, you know what I mean? Or as Terran, if you're making a push in the early game, yeah, just put a Watchdog in your base. Just in case, you know, if one of their responses can be to use air. So this bunker should definitely move forward. I think this Hatrosk is in dire straits, purely because, like, yeah, he's got some units being trained. I think he might still lose this. Now, Btyb is not really being super aggressive here. He could definitely station this a lot more. I think he's overestimating how powerful the Izira cores are actually going to be, especially since now their range is increased. It decreases the amount of splash damage the Cyclops does to itself. A second bunker has been made on the front lines, more units being rallied over. This bunker really needs to get over here because the creep is spreading, so you're actually losing the opportunity to place it. Now, the skits are in a number, I think this is like 4 skits. If they do decide to counterattack, obviously that's not going to be super effective. And what's the bunker? Maybe that's not a bunker that was made? Because I actually don't see where the... Yeah, oh, the bunker flew down here. Okay. Now, there is an army engagement. These Izira cores are being softened up quite a bit. 2 Cyclops in the bunker, quite effective. First casualties are mostly the skits, but we did lose an Izira core. Oh, we lost 2 Izira cores, actually, so that's not too bad. But again, like, the creep is already spread over. You can't actually land this in a more forward position. Now, at the same time, you are forcing the Shambler to basically not mine from this space. He's finally transferring some workers over, but he has had to invest in so many units. So many, you know, defensive options or whatever. And you know what? This high ground option, I don't mind this high ground, actually. You know, if you had the Cyclops bunker in, you might actually be able to outrange the tentacle there. Oh, he can outrange it anyway, because cliff advantage plus the... Yeah, okay. So this is like a spot that, you know, if there's one Izira core over here, this play doesn't happen. But the Shambler was not respecting the potential, nor maybe remembering the range increase, right? The double range increase. He's actually going to lose these skits now. He might lose just one of them, okay, it looks like. And yeah, now his other units are, you know, sitting here. There's vultures in his natural now. He can definitely go for some sort of aggressive play. He's going to lose the Izira cores to the bunkers in this situation. And this has just been very rough. All because he didn't kill the Mason that was standing right next to his 3 Izira cores in the early game, right? A single mine being laid. Ooh, wait, what? Why did he do that? What the fuck? Oh, he's like, oh, you should have gotten me with that mine, so I'll give it to you. All right, it looks like, I mean, I'm thinking this game is definitely in the in Btyb's hands here. There's 5 Skither cores. It still wouldn't punch through 2 Watchdogs, I don't think. Certainly not before some more units pop out or maybe some repairs happen. This base not really being set up. And yeah, I mean, look at all these units, right? Like, you could definitely be seeing some activity come out of here. There's nothing to repair these. The Mason is still out there, so I don't know what's going to happen. He's kind of, you know, doing his best to see what he can, you know, save up here. Oh, the very poorly timed liftoff can definitely get you, though. And I think maybe the Shambler will actually clean this up now. But look at, again, like, there's so few resources now have been harvested this entire game. Which is a pretty big deal. A little bit more focus fire could have actually cleaned up even more Hydras. Harakan. Ackmed is just surveying the battlefield. You know, he's reporting back. At the same time, though, he went for another Fulcrum instead of pooling his gas. He really wants to try to maybe close the game soon. He's got 2 Goliaths over here to respond to the 5 skits, which, again, wasted all of the opportunity that they really had, I think. So that will be 1 Skither core down, and the Goliaths are now here to shut down the rest of the play. They should be able to kill maybe 2 Masons here, is what I would hope. No, they're only going to get away with 1. Well, maybe for now. Yeah, they can pick off the one building the extra Fulcrum. That can just be retasked on immediately anyway. So, nothing too crazy there. The bunker will probably zone him, but there's nothing in it, so that's pretty funny. Now these Goliaths, okay, protecting the natural. Should be able to get away with one more Mason kill here, I think. But so far it's been 4 down. We're keeping tally. Nothing harvesting gas over here, which is maybe more devastating. The more devastating part is the micromanagement. There's another one, so there's 5. Not too bad. Now equalizing it out, right? He's obviously ahead in workers, which Zerg love to be. A secret base happening in the top right. That's a bit risky because that's exactly where Shambler's been going over here, I guess. But like that's the general vicinity of where Shambler's been going for a lot of what he's been doing. That was the scout SCV, the scout basin, moving up there. But his Skither cores have been flying up here in this general area, you know, in the neighborhood. A bunch of Hydras were made, and now it has to be held. And again, this is the danger, right? It's like, oh, I'm going super heavy military to respond to this threat. Now I have all these military units that you didn't clean up, so now I can attack you, right, with a timing hit. And there's no phalanxes to zone this out or anything. So he's going to mass up. Maybe he'll take his time. I actually don't see how btyb could hold this now. It felt like btyb could have just won the game if he had played the micro part of the bunker stuff a little bit better. Sniping away more of the Skither cores. It's always nice. It's sort of like the Mutalisk role in the early stages, right, of Brood War 1v1s. So all these Hydras. The Cyclops doing a lot of spread damage, softening him up for the Goliaths, which have obviously been buffed recently, if you guys remember. And so they're going to do okay. I mean, the focus fire is not good. There's a lot of Hydras that are almost dead or were almost dead. And yeah. But today isn't my day, he says. Dude, you're killing him. Just repair. You could have repaired the Goliath while you were typing, of course. But obviously could just spam out more Masons at this point. Yeah, just repair this guy. He's your superhero. Not interested, apparently. What the fuck? I'm so confused with what's happening in this game. A lot of like he gave up when it was way too early to give up. I think he's still in the game even now, and yeah, he's got a bunch of units in the queue instead of on the field. But I don't know. I mean, one Watchdog would have zoned out all the skits for a long time, especially in conjunction with the Goliaths when we think about it like that. So yeah, there goes the Hydras, nice and quick. And the Goliaths are queued up afterwards. Dude, that's I just realized that was, what, 300 minerals for the Vultures, and then 600 minerals for the Goliaths. Man was loaded. Man was loaded. Obviously could place mines on the ramp. That's exactly what he's doing now. Seeing what can be accomplished there. But yeah, at this point, like, he wants to maybe cap this geyser, get the gas mining over here, eventually get the mineral mining set up, and that way he can tech in peace. Shambler, meanwhile, hasn't really been harvesting too much gas. He does cap the Gnat. This is a very seldom defended base. Like, if he you know, was able to get some air units out in tier 2 maybe, btyb could come into this game. But he's still alive. He hasn't given up yet. I feel like he was about to give up, but he hasn't yet. So there's that. Yeah, crazy amount of minerals that the guy had floating around. Obviously should saturate this base as well. That's going to keep him in the game, I think. If he gets all the gas up and then eventually gets these minerals up, like getting that main for him is definitely a big deal. Now, Shambler also taking a third. This command center should be able to land, and he can reestablish control over this gas as well. All of this is super good for the Terran. Definitely feels really solid there. And the fact that the Shambler is playing conservatively is actually going to allow Mr. Ben here to get back into the game, Mr. Taberski. I feel like, you know, I talked about this before, like sometimes you can close the game out and like early on, and other times you have to know, like, okay, when can I actually do that versus when should I not do that, right? So I do feel like maybe that's something that the Shambler has to keep in mind. Got a bunch of idle workers, not sure where to put them. Still no, yeah, okay, he should cap this geyser, I think, but he's still not got enough gas to tech up. He's kind of close, and so if an attack came over and forced more units from Ben, then that would obviously help because it would delay the Shambler's tech. But I don't think it's going to happen because all of his army is on his side, right? He definitely doesn't feel like he's in a position to do that. Needs to grab that ridge and maybe take like another base over here or something. This is a cheeky one because obviously this is something that the Shambler would want to take. Take more bases, bro. Definitely take more bases. Fully saturate that reservoir as well. He could be in, you know, the comeback can be real is all I'm saying. More mines as well over here wouldn't hurt. As long as you're producing vultures, right? Conserving gas so that you can bank up to that 500 breakpoint and get your tech. Now, the tech has been acquired. Yeah, the IRS in a bit of a weird spot there, but okay, it's there. So, all right. The Shambler is getting up there, scouting out with the Skither Court. And maybe filling btyb with a little bit of false confidence. Ooh, a couple Hydras going down to that mine. And the Goliaths are actually surprisingly good at dealing with the Iziri cores, but at this count, it's quite difficult. Now, he's got more units up on the high ground. Actually getting down this ramp is going to be challenging. Part of it is actually fucked up, so That's a contributing factor to this fight for sure. Now, there was a mine somewhere trying to lay, or trying to detonate somewhere. I don't know if it was like underneath the units or something. So that attack will be driven back. No eco damage really had, but a lot of Goliaths down. Try spinning. Yeah, that's a good trick. Yeah, there you go. A good trick, not cool trick. Come on, bro. Learn your fucking prequel memes as they are. He has saturated the gas on this base, so actually the Shambler is in a very commanding position now. The Atlas going down in the secondary base is so fucking risky, dude. It's so risky. I would never recommend doing this. But I guess if you ever get flown over, you want to make it seem like you're still on tier 1. I don't know. It's still pretty rough. Like, obviously, as soon as he sees the add-ons, he's going to know you're tier 2. So, not sure about that one. One attack away from the Izira core going down. Not that it would be super significant, but, you know, fighting over this weird fucking middle. Yeah, the architecture of the map is giving us some interesting situations. I just feel like if this wasn't fucked, he maybe then would have been okay. Mines coming out will definitely soften up the Izira cores there. You can tell that they're all pretty much one mine away from going down, and now the Vultures will be able to probably clean up the rest, especially with more coming down. You hate to lose Vultures that still have mines in them. That's a big part of their power budget, but at this point, the defensiveness is definitely going to force an Avaleth. He's actually got one already, the Shambler. Getting a upgraded Hydrock, then getting a 4th base. All of this, but without anything other than Hydrock. Like, he's really, really focused on that. It's a bit weird. Machine Shop. The first signs of Tier 2 are finally here. Now, that was him fat-fingering it, I think. Still, he has an aversion to gathering from ridges, it seems. Not sure what's up with that. Finally capping the one in his main. Okay. Yeah, going up to 3 capped geysers is pretty big for Terran. I mean, it's pretty big for any race. But Terran in particular, that allows them to get a lot more madrigals out. Maybe that allows them to tech into, you know, if they want to have phalanxes and vultures for most of their, like that's a heavy mineral composition. But so they can conserve their gas for like Starpad, Starport stuff. And so some Sentinels will be put down as well. Makes a lot of sense. 1 Sentinel over here, sure. Why not? You don't want to make your you announce your presence too early. Like if they scout over here and there's like watchdogs and shit, they're like, oh, there's a base there, right? So, but he has some minerals to burn, so he can build some sentinels. You know, if there's some flyby that happens over there or whatever, it won't be too difficult. Nice, I know. The tiles are so fucked up, man. I don't know how the remastered or the general mappers sleep at night. I really don't. Not sure. Now, this base has double gas, so this is huge, huge stuff for the Shambler. He'll basically be in a very powerful position at that point. Now, this reservoir has finished and has been saturated immediately. Sentinels coming up over here as well. It's all phalanxes, so it's going to be a tank push, it looks like, or an attempt. Wouldn't be too difficult, right? Like, wouldn't be too bad. Obviously, the heavy damage against the Tetzora cores, against the Bactylisks even, outranging them, obviously. Neutralizing one of their key advantages over the rest of the composition. Pretty big deal. You probably want like 1 more over here, but you know, that position is fine too. Maybe do some Overwatch for this position. You could imagine trying, well, I guess there's not really a cliff that you can do that for. But you know, you'd imagine like double bunker with a phalanx behind it and some sentinels or something. Would definitely cause some slowdowns for the encroaching Zerg. He should definitely siege these, but he doesn't yet know he's about to be under attack. And let's see, he's gonna poke his head out, see what's going on. There we go. And I'm sure the Shambler must have realized that, yeah, it's quite likely that there would be tier 2 stuff. Good focus fire onto the Bactylisks here would absolutely shred them, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. And there's only 1 Tetzora core left, which will, in short order, be brought down by the tank fire. But this is still pretty good. I mean, getting 4 phalanxes down for that army was, like, obviously a huge slow to the attempted push. And now it's going to be Goliaths. Like, the biggest problem, I think, that you're seeing for Btyb is that he just doesn't have that many production structures at this point. So he's actually floating a decent amount of minerals, especially at this point. If you're ever over 1,000 minerals and you're in a situation like this or anything analogous to this, always try to drop a command center and float it somewhere. Like just getting another base up, getting this maybe, getting your gas, you know, equivalent, and then obviously the big deal is like getting more production, right? So he's queuing up some more phalanxes, wants to see if he can hold out. This might provoke the Shambler into tier 2.5 so that he can get the Matravel Nest, which he loves so much. I think he probably loves it a little bit less now that Parasite isn't some stupid buff that you just cast on your units like a chore and then it pops. But, you know, it's still quite useful for turning the corpses against your opponent. But it's going to be the Muthrock Spire instead for Protethilors. I don't know about the Sikralisk play. I think maybe he's not super familiar with those units. You do get 2 per requisition, but the problem with them is that they're very close range and they're not very durable. So they're more about handling like crowds of air units or bio maybe, or something to that effect. Like I imagine they'd be okay against Madcaps. Not as the front line, of course. But if they have a front line, they'd be really, really good against bio, I think. Terran bio, that is. Not sure if there's any other bio in the game, actually. So a 5th base now being taken by the Shambler. Definitely going to be stretching ahead. And I do like this play over here to transition for Starport. This will allow him to really abuse the bases over here. Absolutely annihilate this base, especially if it ends up being 2.5, which is not currently the case. But, you know, even just a fleet of Gorgons would help out quite a bit. Obviously, they're very cheap. He hasn't really replenished the minefield over here, just a couple. The Obeleth did... No, it didn't die. It's coming back. Maybe it did die, actually, and he built a new one. I'm not sure. A lot of these Goliaths not being down on the front line is a huge problem for Btyb because he really doesn't have a front line for these Phalanxes. But he has enough of them and some Sentinels as well. I feel like he'll be in an okay position. Putting down some more mines. Closer to the Phalanxes, I actually don't mind that, even though, in theory, a good player will be able to mine drag. Better than not having the mines out at all, right? So here come the combat. You can tell the Sikralisks are going to be softened up quite a bit before they can really do anything. Ooh, that mine was pretty rough. And actually, the Sentinels up here, even getting into the action, the Sikralisks charging forward has pretty good DPS here. Again, they have a bit of a front line, and the Phalanxes all went down very, very quickly. I don't even know what would have killed all the Phalanxes. I guess it's the Protethilors. That's a pretty big deal. And this might actually be the closing of the game. The Wyverns actually were the choice. They're going to take a long time to kill this Hacharosk, and obviously it's going to be an advance warning. But, you know, there's some cross-map shenanigans happening. This base is definitely forfeit. And I also have to feel like, unless he can get more units out, which he's not even training any over here, which is very puzzling. I guess he's saving all of his gas for this. But he could definitely put out some, you know, at least some vultures or something. Maybe more sentinels out from the mineral harvesters. Would buy him more time over here. As it stands, it might still be enough to, you know, force some silliness. Here come the Wyverns again. Gonna start shredding the worker line. There's not really anything he can do about this in this current state. He can move the Sikralisks over, but I think with enough, you know, good micro or whatever, that would be... he's not interested. He's like, no, I'm just gonna all in your main, dude. And yeah, he's got some Skithocores out to deal with them. Okay. Gorgons are coming in to try to see if they can help, basically. Makes sense? Shit. Yeah, Swarm of Skithocores just annihilated all of it. He doesn't know that, I guess. So, there you go. A painful lesson, but a lesson nonetheless. Let's see how long it takes the Shambler to figure out that there's a hidden base. This base being taken would be good, but he has no workers for it, right? Is building more Sentinels, building a ton more Wyverns, okay? A ton, 3. 3 more Wyverns. Yeah. Rest in peace. Now, he did deny the 5th base, but that's super, like, copium. He's on 1 base economy now. He's slowly, you know, adding more defenses. He's got a lot of minerals that he was floating. I guess maybe there could be some way that he could drag the game out, but I don't think that he can realistically do much. Oh, he did. He got some pretty good raids down with the Wyverns. They're not super, like, hit and run. They're much more committed than that. But you can see their power in, like, quickly vanishing, you know, worker lines. Also, most of these units can't, like, the Izurocorps can technically attack air, but they have to be within a certain range. I don't think that's going to be particularly effective against the Wyvern. They have double the range of the Izurocorps after all. He's just building more Sentinels. I mean, the biggest thing now you could do is accompany the Wyverns with Valkyries, and that would help take care of, like, an air-based response. The Wyverns will be somewhat useful against the push that's happening here, because it's all, like, you know, easily splashed units. All the Sentinels as well are going to thwart this and ward it off quite a bit, I think. So here comes the air units trying to help out a little bit. Nobody trying to repair that Sentinel, unfortunately. Yeah, the Protethilors can't attack up. There's like 1 Bactylisk left with this army. You can just easily move backwards since the Wyverns can fire while moving. You don't want to stack them up against Sikralisks. Obviously, the AoE is going to be quite debilitating for that. So a couple of them are going to pop over here. Another round of Gorgons came out. And the Sikralisks are going to fall in short order, but not before doing quite a heavy amount of damage to the Wyvern count, right? Dropping the Wyvern count to just 2. Looks like one Mason went down. He was harvesting from this bottom mineral patch, I think. Don't ask me why I remember that. These are the details. And Vithrilisks. So there you go. Built-in response. And no Valkyries yet, so going to be quite difficult for the Zerg player, the Terran player to really do too much here. I was going to say the Zerg player, but obviously I don't think anything's super difficult for him. Checking all the bases. Obviously could take more bases, but instead he's going to build more mutas. Oh, okay, he went for a round of mutas. Interesting. So against Terran, the mutas have not seen a crazy amount of success. They're much better at picking off armies than they are at doing anything else. And as soon as this Air Force comes down, it's going to be very sad. Because the Gorgons are just going to melt. And these units cannot outrun the Skither cores. I don't even know if they can. I think they can technically outrun the Vithrilisks. Maybe not, though. Maybe they're slightly slower. So yeah, that's just utter destruction, of course. Oh, and he even got the Gorgon with the last hit. It's utter disrespect. Can you believe it? I do like the number of corpses here. Imagine a single fucking attempt at reclaiming those. Sentinel's doing a lot of line damage here. Not enough to actually kill too many of them, but the repairs were enough to ward them off. Again, it's 4 base economy versus 1, really. Like, he's got sort of some over here, but no gas harvesting, really, to speak of. So, yeah, the stack of mutas, it's an interesting idea. Like, you can kind of come in here and annihilate the mineral line. Obviously, the Sentinels will be, tickling you the whole time. I guess what you could also do is you could take the Vithrilisks, and you could move them over the Sentinels so that the Sentinels target them, and then move the mutas over, because obviously the Vithrilisks will take a lot longer. Just set the Vithrilisks on top of the starports, maybe. He doesn't have a crazy number of them, but that would be a thing he could do. He's actually taking a 5th base again. Yeah, he really wants to make this game take a little bit of time. And look at this. Btyb, 6th base also going in. Btyb wants to take another, crazy base. So he's doing this, You can actually see there's, holes in the scouting pattern where, Shambler just wants to take every base, which is okay. I guess it's a thing, but let's be honest. We kind of know the outcome of this game, I think. But you know what? Btyb is resilient. I was saying earlier he didn't give up, or he felt like he was giving up, but now he's not giving up. Okay, he's learned his lesson in the same match. Now really the only territory is going to be over here, rather up here in the top middle. And even then, I think that's also going to be earmarked. Skither Corps just hunting to make sure that there's no bases over here. Okay, he's building a command center in the corner. It would be really funny if he walked over here and tried to take the gas, but obviously it's going to be capped immediately. So, pranked, I think, is the operative word there. Yeah, Shambler's just going to take every base, take every gas, starve him out. I guess. I feel like he's giving way too much respect in this particular case to an air-only Tier 2 Terran. He has the Sentinels, but, you could just charge in. I don't think it would be too difficult. Even if you just went for, Vorver cores and Zethra cores or something, just shred the buildings and stuff. I guess the Sentinel count up here is a bit intense, but still. Or, Protathalors. Obviously, they don't outrange the Sentinel. They have even range, so I guess there's that. I don't know, man. He does have Irrelant. But he doesn't want to build it. Anything using it? He spent the gas on it, but he hasn't decided to go for anything. So that's interesting. I'm very surprised that the game has petered out to this state. Obviously, with all the bases being taken. Btyb really has no fucking hope. If he was building a vulture, a fulcrum in here, and then put the vulture, lay some mines over here and kill the worker line or something, maybe then he's just gonna fly over here, but this base is also taken. So then he's gonna fly up here. It's I'll just take my natural. Oh, it's also taken. So he can land on his main and get attacked by the Sickerlisk, I guess. But that's about it. It's just so silly. He hasn't even been constructing a fleet. He's trying to spend his minerals by building Ackmeds. So there's at least that. We'll get some Ackmeds later on, maybe. He could actually go for a starport or star pad into a Trojan, right? Drop not there, but drop the Ackmeds around. I don't know. I'm clutching at straws here, guys. yeah, keep going. There you go. The Skither Corps army should immediately fly over there, honestly. Just send one more worker over here, dude. Take the last couple bases. You could take this base. I guess you get pot shotted by sentinels. Take this base again. I don't know, bro. I guess we'll speed this up a bit. Dude, he's so like, what do I do? I like the Ackmed front line. Okay, Ackmed is maybe moving out? No? Okay. I don't know what's happening. Ackmed is being built. I'm speeding up, if you can tell. Dude, what? Single Mason scouting around. Gets owned. Dude, how is Shambler letting this game take so long? What's he doing? Why would you submit this game? Noob. You can watch me take every base. Isn't that so cool? The Shambler, probably. I'm surprised that Btyb has decided that he has balls enough to move out. Oh, he has a Daedalus this whole time, and he built an apothecary. There you go. Get to fight. Valkyrie's doing okay. Skithercore is now joining the fight. Muta's could be over here. All right, and that's that. That was what we waited so long for, pretty much. Well, really what we waited so long for was this. The Ackmed hold. Get him, Ackmed! Fuck him up! Yeah, yeah, you can't fight Ackmed. Well, I guess he gave us a thumbnail out of it. Here you go, dude. I mean, you can fight Ackmed, since the Tetzorcore does AoE, but... You know. Dude, what the fuck? He's got all these rockets. Look at the Skithercores. No, don't kill Ackmed. What's wrong with you? I think if your enemy attacks you with Ackmed, then you should just surrender. Well, shit. Oh my god. This whole time he was going to tier 3 so he could build Starcraft cores. Also known as the stupidest way to win a game, I think. There you go. His bio army at tier 1 has been eaten. Ackmed's final stand. And I think it'll just be GG before then. I'll just skip ahead of the cringe. Oh, okay. It goes on longer than I thought, to be honest. All right. Well, if anybody was interested in seeing all of this, then now you have it. Burned into your retinas. He got a 7-step out. It died. Okay, well, what we learned in that game is definitely keep your pressure going. I think a little bit of micro. If you have to cast your mind back because at the beginning of the game, Btyb was about to win with the bunker push. If you micro that a little bit better, if you commit behind it a little bit more definitively, or if you actually macro behind it instead of committing behind it, and so you transition out into a more conventional game, either one would have been good. Unfortunately, I think the macro slipped and the micro slipped. So just the fundamental stuff, you know, drill that a little bit, get a little bit better, a bit more practice. The move to land the bunker on the high ground, super good, very smart. By the way, even if we change the bunker range, we're talking about like maybe making it only +1 bunker range, it would still outrange the Circuit in that case because the Circuit has 7 range. So the Maverick has 5. Is it 5 or 6? I think it's 6. Might be 5. And then obviously like +2, +1, right? So anyway, in either case, it has more. So regardless, like that's a big deal. So yeah, like that was a smart move, definitely, and something that I liked to see. I think, you know, maybe sneaking a Mason in there for repairs could have been it. Building more bunkers in general on the front line could have been it. Yeah, definitely like silly that the worker was allowed to live, considering the Zero cores were right there, practically in vision. But yeah, like good responses. Like he built a watchdog when he scouted saw the advanced warning of the Skithercores, and he had his units there. He didn't suffer any losses. I don't think he lost a single Mason from that first attack. So very big deal there, and then could obviously apply some pressure, shift the bunker around, do some stuff there. And like that was good. Like, he definitely had the game in the palm of his hand, and then he sort of just like turned his hand over and it fell down, you know? So you don't want to do that, but at the same time, you know, impressive opener. Definitely dial it in a little bit, I think, and then you'll be in a good spot. So Thanks to BTB for trying, and thanks to Shambler for making sure that he took as long as humanly possible to finish the game for whatever reason. And we'll be back again for another cast over later on. Bye.